One of the main things for week 3 was continuing to maintain all of her known behaviors, such as recall, but practicing them in new locations or new contexts.
Yes, good job. Leave it. Yes, good girl. Drop it. Yes, good girl. Wait. Free. Wait. Free. Good girl. Okay, ready, Molly?
For polite greetings, we practiced in new contexts, but also with some new people.
Good girl.
Here she is practicing with one of the other trainers from Peach on a Leash.
Hi.
Yes, good girl.
With place, we just continue to work on building duration, distraction. Here she's practicing her place in a very distracting environment with other trainers and dogs around while we kind of all together are practicing. Here she's practicing place with another trainer. This is really good for her to help practice that transfer of skills from just working on it with me to being able to perform the same task with other people. We also practice group place inside the house with my 2 dogs. Here, what we're working on is distraction of me moving around the house, going out of sight, really adding up that difficulty level of the distraction of 2 other dogs working alongside her, but also me going out of sight and moving around the house more. You'll also notice I am spacing out the reinforcement, so she's getting a lot less reinforcement with more duration between that.
Wait. Molly. Watch out.
To add in difficulty, we also practice being released by name. So I'm calling each dog one at a time to be released using their name and their release cue. You can see I have Molly wait here last to really add that difficulty of watching other dogs get up, but she still had to wait. Potty bells was new for Molly this week. She has learned to hit the bells on cue. So now when we go outside, I first ask her to ring the bells. She rings them, open the door, and let her out to potty. The next steps will be her figuring out that she can ask to go out to potty by ringing the bells.
Nice job.
When meeting new dogs, Molly is a little nervous and shy and a bit apprehensive. So we want to let her take her time, keep greeting short so she can feel comfortable, and making sure that the other dog is respecting her space and not overwhelming her too much. So here she's meeting some of the other dogs that were in board and train at our facility location. She was a little nervous about this dog, Honey, at first, but then you can see they became friends pretty quickly. In this video, Honey's on leash just because she was getting a little much for Molly, so we wanted to make sure that Molly had that space to play freely and not get too overwhelmed. But you can see they were having the best of time. For cooperative care grooming this week, I worked on adding in the tools. So we used those behaviors she had been learning the past 2 weeks, the stand, the chin rest, the subtle behaviors, and then really adding in the tools this time and not just the body handling. So allowing me to brush her more and get a lot more of that grooming done between reinforcement. You can see, of course, that she's still a bit wiggly. That's super normal. She's still a very young pup. but this is a really great start to her cooperative care grooming. Here she's doing her settle for grooming. I really like this one for grooming her tail, her side, her legs, and her belly. It's just a really easy way to do it, and she seems to hold still a little bit better and settle than she does in stand. This week I had a heavy focus on socialization for Molly. So here you can see her hanging out with the other dogs at some training. And now in this video we're doing some look at that game. There's the play yard over there where some of the boarding daycare dogs are. So there's a lot of noise going on. She's seeing some movement. So we're playing that look at that game. She is doing really, really well with this. She just needs about those first 5 or so minutes to gather herself when she sees something. So you kind of play that look at that game with her for 5 to 10 minutes in the beginning of a new scenario when the new person, new dog shows up. But then she's able to kind of settle down and accept it, and then she's super ready to greet people and dogs. She just gets nervous, and that's why you're seeing this reaction from her. It's also something that's very common for the breed mix that she is. You see it a lot in herding dogs where this kind of change in environment is what triggers the barking. So it's not just the dogs and the people, but it's the sudden appearance of the dogs and people. And so it's not something that we're going to see probably go away quickly or very soon. But just continue working on it, because you can see here once she's been with the dogs for a while, she can settle down. We no longer are playing the look at that game, and in that moment she's good. So in this video we took her to a restaurant with us, and she did place. She did great. She went to say hi to the waitresses and all the people. You can see that happy tail, but I just kept her, you know, coming back to a place and then rewarding her for staying on her place, as well as playing the look at the game when some people are walking by. Here we are after eating. We took a little walk through the shopping area, just again for more socialization. Because socialization isn't always seeing, or isn't always just meeting the people and the dogs, but also just seeing that they exist in the world and seeing all the things that do exist in the world. So this is a busy area in Peachtree Corners where there's shops and restaurants and people, and so we can practice her loose leash walking skills, some of her obedience, as well as just getting her out and seeing things. Here we are at a park area. There's a lot of people kind of walking around, kids playing. There's a playground on the other side of us there, so there's lots of noise. We're just playing the look at that game. So like you've seen before, as soon as she kind of looks over at whatever's kind of triggering her, we mark yes and reward. As she gets a little bit more comfortable in the environment, I wait for her to disengage. So that is her looking at the trigger and then looking back to me for that assurance, and then I mark yes and reward her for that. In this video we're working on playing the look at the game while moving past the triggers, which is the playground in this scenario. You can see in this video how she's gotten a little bit more comfortable, and I'm waiting to mark and reward her once she looks back at me after watching the triggers versus marking and rewarding her for looking at them. Next up was practice at the pet store. We
Down.
started by just practicing some of her obedience that she already knows. Sit, down, stay, wait. Just to build up her confidence with doing those behaviors in new places.
Come. Good girl.
Let's go. We also practiced some loose leash walking and loose leash walking next to a cart. Let's go. Yes. Here we're doing some more of the look at that game.
Yes.
There were a couple dogs that were up at the front of the store.
Yes.
And there was some barking going on, which got her really worked up.
Yes.
So we just kind of stayed back a little farther and let her work through that.
Yes.
You can see in this video that she's gotten a lot better when walking past people. She needed to look at this guy once or twice. We did the look at that game, and then she was able to move on and just let him pass without having any kind of reaction towards him. Dogs are going to just need more work. It's a lot harder for her. We were following behind this dog here in this video. So we did a lot of look at that game. Eventually she was able to meet the dog. She was a little nervous and shy at first, but then was able to warm up and request some play within a minute or so of meeting the dog.